amoebiasis is one of the causes of bloody diarrhea. Add it to your list. Okay? So the theme of the lecture will be to understand the differences between Entamoeba histolytica. Entamoeba histolytica is our concern of this lecture, is the pathogenic species of amoeba. So we are going to differentiate it from other amoeba or amoebas, okay? Because in the lab, you are going to see other types of amoeba. So don't jump from the beginning and say, this is Entamoeba histolytica. You have to know the morphological feature of Entamoeba histolytica in order to differentiate it from other types of amoeba. Some other types of amoeba could be commensal, normally present. فش يصير بالمختبر تكنيشن ما يعرف ما مدرب كويس راسا يكتبها Entamoeba histolytica. هاي المشكلة. دائما الأطباء خاصة الجاسترولوجيست يروحوا للمختبر يشوفوا بعينهم. Now, to describe both intestinal and extra-intestinal infection, it means Entamoeba histolytica can cause intestinal and extra-intestinal. Where is extra-intestinal? In the liver, in the lung, in the brain. Okay? So there are extra-intestinal infections. We studied the epidemiology, pathogenesis, pathology, and immunology of amoebiasis, of course. We'll talk a little bit about. And to recognize the clinical manifestation of amoebiasis and to try to give highlights of useful drugs and amoebiasis prevention. So let us start by amoebas. Movement of amoeba is by pseudopodia, الأرجل الكاذبة. pseudopodia هيك بروزات وتتحرك فيه. Multiplication by simple binary division. It is divided longitudinally like that into two cells. They produce cysts, similar to Giardia, trophozoid and cyst. So these cysts are a spore-like structure for long survival in unfavorable environment. إن يكون المحيط تبعها غير مناسب, dryness in the soil, it changes to spores. The amoebas of human clinical importance, of human, there are animals also, but of human clinical importance, Entamoeba. Example, Entamoeba histolytica, which is the pathogenic which causes amoebiasis. So our concern with this lecture is Entamoeba histolytica. بس حتى نعرف أين موقعها among كل الأميبas of clinical importance. First of all, the types of amoeba, Entamoeba, example, Entamoeba histolytica. Indolimax, which is GIT commensal, يعني normal flora. And Iodamoeba is again GI commensal. So Entamoeba is our concern today. Example of it is Entamoeba histolytica. How we differentiate between them? We differentiate between them according to their size, according to their morphology, according to their nuclear characteristics. And we will see in a moment how we can differentiate between them. We differentiate between them according to their size, morphology, and nuclear morphology and structure. Okay? So there are different ways how we can differentiate between them. Now let us take Entamoeba. Entamoeba, the first one is Entamoeba histolytica, the pathogenic. But there are other Entamoebas which are non-pathogenic, Entamoeba dispar. Entamoeba dispar is very similar to Entamoeba histolytica. والخطأ اللي يحصل بالمختبر عند الفحص أنه أنت تشوف انتاميبا هيستوليتيكا، تشوف انتاميبا ديسبار وتكتبها انتاميبا هيستوليتيكا. Very similar، وراح نتعلم كيف نميز بيناتهم in a moment. Okay? And Entamoeba hartmanni and Entamoeba coli. And we always differentiate between Entamoeba histolytica, Entamoeba dispar, Entamoeba coli, both from trophozoite point of view and from cyst point of view. وراح نتعلم كيف نميز بيناتهم. Now let us have notes and then table that will make it easy for us how to differentiate between them, according to the size, morphology, and the nuclear characteristic. These Entamoeba can be differentiated, and I said that. And also, we can differentiate Entamoeba from other amoeba in this category. Entamoeba dispar is very similar to Entamoeba histolytica, but show no digested RBC. يعني الانتاميبا dispar ما فيها RBC، لا تلتهم RBC. while Entamoeba histolytica it contains RBC، وراح نشوف picture for that. Let us look to this table, which is very important. Entamoeba histolytica, Entamoeba hartmanni, Entamoeba coli. But I would like you to concentrate on histolytica and coli. Hartmanni, just keep it for information, okay? Because the differentiation is usually between histolytica and coli. هسه dispar خليناها out الRBC، okay؟ واحدة بيها وواحدة بيها. هسه الهيستوليتيكا and E. coli cytoplasm differentiated ectoplasm, endoplasm. Remember, the cytoplasm is differentiated into ectoplasm, endoplasm. من تشوفها under the microscope تشوف أنهم واضح. There is ectoplasm and endoplasm. In Entamoeba coli, undifferentiated. This is difference. Nucleus. There are peripheral chromatin around the nucleus. Peripheral chromatin around. In histolytica fine. ناعمة هيك مرتبة. While in coli, coarse and irregular. Another difference. Now, karyosomes in the nucleus. Karyosome is small and central. Small and central. While in coli, large and eccentric to the periphery. Another difference. Wow. Ingested particle. Bacteria in coli. Not present in histolytica. RBC present in histolytica, not in coli. This is another difference. Now the size may be comparable, although from my experience, histolytica is smaller than coli. Regarding the cyst, nuclei, the cyst of Entamoeba histolytica have 1 to 4, usually 4. 4 nuclei. هذه مهمة. While in coli 1 to 8, usually 8. فإذا الانتاميبا histolytica says 4 nucleus. أعيدها مرة. انتاميبا histolytica cyst, not a trophozoite. Cyst 4 chromatoid bodies. The chromatoid bodies, they are present as rods. راح نشوفها بالصورة. And in histolytica like rods, while in colli splinters. هيك قطع نتف. Okay? Splinters. The size, again comparable, although I think that the size is in colli larger than the, but for the text they have put it more than 10 micrometers. Now we can see this is the trophozoid, this is, right? Look to the nucleus, central karyosome, chromatin, peripheral chromatin, fine, okay? Now this is the pseudopodia. You can see the difference between endoplasm and ectoplasm, differentiated. واضح بالصورة. RBC, the amoeba ingest RBC. Why ingest RBC? Because they cause ulcers and bleeding, so they ingest RBC. So this is the trophozoite. The cyst contains, look, 4 nuclei. This chromatoid bodies, you can see them as rods. Okay? Now the cyst may contain glycogen vacuole. الجلايكوجين باش نصبغها؟ تعرفوه من الكيمياء بالايودايد او بالايودين، ولهذا السبب من نعمل ويت بريباريشن، وحده بالسلاين ووحده بالايش؟ بالايودايد. الانتاميبا يعني موفينج التروفوزويد. الايودايد will stop it, will make it immobilized. وايضا السيست ينصبغ الجلايكوجين فاكتور تبعها، فالايودين بفائدتين. Now you can see in Amoeba histolytica here endoplasm, ectoplasm, and the nucleus central karyosome. This is in Amoeba coli. شوف السيست كم نيوكليوس؟ 8 إذا تعمل فوكس. هسه هون واضح 5 وتعمل فوكس هي up to 8. It could be less than 8. And you can see the chromatoid bodies in the cyst. Here 8 nuclei and the chromatoid body splinters. قطع هيك صغيرة. While in the Amoeba histolytica cyst, chromatoid bodies like rods. بينما هون splinters. شوف النيوكليوس تبع التروفوزويد. Containing eccentric karyosome على طرف. الكروماتين coarse, irregular around the nucleus. And you can see the trophozoite ingest bacteria, not RBC. You can see the bacteria, rods here. Okay? So the differences are quite obvious. This is the trophozoite of Amoeba coli. You can see the nucleus, you can see the eccentric karyosomes. So let us come to the Amoeba histolytica and study it more in details because it is of a clinical importance, as I said. ترى كثير ناس مصابين يعني ان شاء الله من تتخرجوا راح تشوفوا اعداد يعني مو قليله من الناس مصابين. وقسم من الناس بيجوا هيك for routine examination and then you discover them that they have got infection with Amoeba histolytica. Now they cause diarrhea and amoebic dysentery. Remember the word amoebic dysentery. شو معنى amoebic dysentery؟ يعني blood and pus. فلو حطينا جدول هلا ونقول البلادي دياريا وين شفناها؟ شفناها بالكومبايلوباكتر، شفناها بالشايجيلا، شفناها بالانتيرو هيموراجيك ايكولاي وبالانتاميبا هيستوليتيكا. لازم نجمع المعلومات، صح؟ اوكي. Extra-intestinal infection also occur, as I said in the beginning, not only intestinal. تعبر تروح على extra-intestinal through the intestine and to the lymphatic and the blood. Oral route transmission طبعا بالأكل في مكانات not hygienic, there is possibility to have it. And always the patient, when they come to you, you have to differentiate between giardiasis and amoebiasis. The reservoir and host of human, so it comes from a human being. Mainly, they reside in the cecum and rectosigmoid. من نعمل endoscopy, okay, or rectoscopy or sigmoidoscopy, you will find the ulcers. It is facultative anaerobic protozoa. That is why flagell is infected. Morphology now of the trophozoid and the cyst. Let us start with the trophozoid. Marked ectoplasm from endoplasm. Differentiated. واضح? Nucleus 3 to 5 micron with central karyosome. I have mentioned it, but just here summarize. Fine regular granules around the nucleus. Ingested RBC. This is characteristic of Entamoeba histolytica trophozoid. Look, when I say trophozoid, when I say cyst. Now the cyst, foreign nuclei. A glycogen vacuole, which can be stained by iodine. 1 to 2 chromatoid bodies, cigar shape, ribosomal cluster. هذه الكروماتويد body هي عبارة عن ايش؟ ribosomal clusters. Let us have a clinical capsule and see the importance. Amoebiasis, as I said, may be asymptomatic or produce intermittent diarrhea. يجي لك المريض يقول لك دكتور ترى أنا مرة إسهال مرة إمساك يعني مو دائم intermittent diarrhea. This is in favor of amoebiasis and with abdominal pain. Occasionally dysentery. When the patient develops ulcers, it becomes dysentery with abdominal cramp and sometimes high fever. When there is ulcers in the intestine, secondary infection by the bacteria, which is present in the colon, will make the infection worse. Invasion of the colonic mucosa is typical and spread from there to where? To the liver, where an abscess is produced, to the lung, where abscess is produced, to the brain, where abscess is produced. Amoebic abscess, we call it. And I will come back to this point in a moment. Epidemiology is worldwide, but mainly in warmer climates. Sharq al-Awsat, warmer climate. Normal people harbor Entamoeba dispar. So you have to teach your technicians, your nurses, when they examine the stool, to differentiate between dispar and histolytica. Very important point. The cyst resists chlorination. مسألة مهمة. chlorination يعني تعقيم المياه. بايش يصير؟ بالكلور. It can resist the chlorination. Heating up to 55 degrees centigrade. And also resistant to gastric juice. You know, gastric juice is a major barrier in innate immunity. You have studied it last year. gastric juice barrier. But amoeba is resistant to gastric juice. Immunocompromised are more susceptible. Of course, their immunity is less. Most infected are symptom-free. يعني كثير من الناس عندهم الانتميبا هيستوليتيكا but they are symptom-free. When their immunity decreases, when they take corticosteroids, if they develop diabetes, these will flare up. Pathogenesis, they have the capability of invasiveness, which is called endocystic capacity. يعني تبتلع. Invasiveness, it goes into the intestinal mucosa. That is why they produce ulcers. Okay, they have a proteinases, which activate complement and degrade تحطم الجلايكوجين. فإذا عنده proteinases مهمة, like cysteine proteinases, which assist in extracellular spread. يعني كيف تخترق جدار الأمعاء وتروح على غير مكانها؟ عند cysteine proteinases. وعنده proteinases that can activate the complement, that can degrade the collagen of the tissues. They have lectin-mediated adherence. So by the lectin, they can adhere to the mucosa of the intestine. And I said previously, the microorganism or organism should adhere in order to cause the pathology. Capacity to lyse host cells. that تشوفون عندها الانفيسفنس والبروتينيسز وعندها activities كثيرة which can cause host cell lysis. Colonic microflora help in invasiveness. The microflora in the intestine can cause infection ulcer, تساعد بالألسر فالinvasiveness يكون أسهل. Help in invasiveness. Okay? Colonic microflora help in invasiveness. Pathology in the early stages, a neutrophil will be activated. You know the neutrophil have cytokine. They produce their cytokine, which may be protective and may cause damage also. This cytokine. Later, little mucosal inflammation with ulcers. The characteristic of these ulcers, a flask-like extended to submucosa, مثل الفلاسك, مثل الدورة. Okay? Flask-like, these ulcers. Secondary bacterial infection may occur. A granulation tissue will be formed because ulcers, and then fibrosis. يعني أنت مثلا عندك bacterial infection وgranulation وfibrosis. هذه شو نسميها بالباثولوجي؟ جرانيولوما، صح؟ صح؟ جرانيولوما، فاسمها هذه أميبوما هي. There will be amiboma formation in about 1% of the cases, and mainly colonic amiboma. Mainly colonic amiboma. Abscess formation, as I said, occurs in the liver, in the lung, in the brain, and other tissues. So these are the main areas. The liver is number one. Why? Because the blood usually comes from the intestine, first of all, to the liver, and mainly in the right lobe of the liver, in the right lobe. Immunity is not proportional to the antibody formation. Okay? And immunity is not a protective. Trophozoite resist complement lysis. This is another point. These are just points to activate your memory in immunology. Cell-mediated immunity plays more role than antibody. تروفوزويد وسيست وكذا. اكيد السيل ميديتد immunity تلعب دور اكبر. Immunity provides protection against recurrence. ممكن واحد يسألني دكتور انت قلت الانتي بودي بروتكشن. انتي بودي وسيل ميديتد plays role in your protection. الكلينيكال مانيفستيشن دياريا. شو حكينا عن دياريا؟ انترميتنت. انا كثير شفت مرضى بس يقول لك انترميتنت you have to think about amoebiasis. Foul smelling the stool, smelling after. Foul smelling the stool. Flatulence. Flatulence حكينا mainly بالجياردياسيس. أيضا هون موجود flatulence. Cramping abdominal pain. Ulcer in the large bowel. Ulceration plus mucus and the blood in the stool. So amoebic dysentery. Liver abscess usually in the right lobe, single. And this is very important topic, subject. Okay? Occurs in about 5% of the cases and may extend to the surrounding tissue, such as to the chest, may rupture to the chest, to the lungs, nearby. Diagnosis, stool examination. Water preparation. شو معنى water preparation? By normal saline. You put a drop of normal saline, piece of the stool emulsified, and then cover a slip or cover a slide. And then examine it in 1 second. You can do it, okay? Or iodine stain. وحكينا شو فائدة الأيودين. Amoeba histolytica, morphologically, when you look under the microscope, it contains RBC, while Amoeba dispar, no RBC. علاجها for stool antigen. تطور يعني تطور في الفحوصات فيو can detect the antigen of Amoeba histolytica in the stool. Serological diagnosis for a specific antibody. PCR for stool antigen. ولو ما تستوجب يعني. عادة بالمستشفيات ما نعملها. بس ريسيرش كذا ممكن. Extra intestinal. شوف هاي النقطة المهمة. Antibodies detected in high level in about 90% of patients in extra-intestinal. يعني in case of liver abscess, antibodies are useful for diagnosis. I am not saying for protection. In the diagnosis, and the best test in case of extra, ممكن تعمل ultrasound, ممكن تعمل MRI, ممكن تعمل أشياء أخرى. But the antibody is very simple and it gives you a yield in about 90% of the cases. As a case study, a 21-year-old college student volunteered for a 2-year assignment as missionary in the rural area of Mexico. كتاب أمريكي هذا الكتاب تبعكم اللي هو textbook in microbiology, series and rank microbiology. Within 4 months of arrival, you can look at these cases. You can look at the questions which are present at the end of each chapter. Within 4 months of arrival, he developed mild diarrheal illness, flatulence, abdominal discomfort, which subsided within a few weeks. Later, 6 months, started to lose weight and have low-grade fever and right upper abdominal pain. He returned back to his home, investigated, and they found that he has got liver abscess, amoebic abscess. So the diagnosis is amoebic hepatic abscess. So the diagnosis about this case study is supported by the detection of serum antibodies against Entamoeba histolytica, high level, which is an important diagnostic tool. The treatment, we can divide them into two categories, invasive and non-invasive. Non-invasive paromomycin اللي حكينا عليه. Okay? حكينا بالجياردياسيس, the first drug. Paromomycin, which is aminoglycoside, support the fluid, electrolyte, etc. Invasive metronidazole, we say it facultative and aerobic, and diloxanide. So metronidazole plus diloxanide. In severe cases, شو معناته in severe cases؟ يعني ulcers. وش يصير بالألسر؟ بكتيريا invasion. فلازم تعطي ايش؟ add a broad spectrum antibiotic. Again هذا مو فهم. Okay? هذا understanding of the microbiology. Or you give dihydroamidine parenteral injection in extra-intestinal amoebiasis. واحد عنده hepatic abscess. Of course you have to treat in severe cases with dihydroamidine. Remember, it's rarely used, but is one of the drugs which we spare for severe cases. Prevention, disposal of a human feces. Remember, the reservoir is a human. Since it's transmitted by fecal oral route, you have to check the workers in restaurants. هذول العمال بالمطاعم وبالدليفري. Okay, they should be checked for amoebiasis, check for Micobiology, check for giardiasis, check for hepatitis. Okay, because they transmit the disease. Improvement of personal hygiene, safe water drinking, of course. Awareness of sexual transmission. Remember this point. I kept it to the end. And care about immunocompromised patients, because these people are more susceptible to get the infection. Any questions? Useful, although the lecture is not that long, I've made such useful information in it. Keep it in mind, very important. Any questions?